Hey, what's up guys? Tuki here, back again with another episode of A Nation United Rock, Flag, and Eagle, an All-American series, which is really the tagline that I should have put with this series to begin with. Now, I do want to get right down to business with today's episode because, again, the game plan is to make it through the entire offseason. By the end of this, I want to make sure that we are set for Season 2. Of course, we do have the 12th overall pick, but before we get into that, I want to talk about some of the players that you guys suggested we look into acquiring, which I'm more than cool with you guys doing in the comment section on each video. If you want to bring up, hey, check out this player, see if it's possible to get him, feel free to do that. Feel free to leave suggestions, because obviously there are a decent amount of players that we were not able to get through the fantasy draft. That doesn't mean, though, that we can't go out and acquire them. Now, the first player, and of course I went through view contracts to find these guys. It was a pain in the ass, but that's okay. I love you. It's worth the sacrifice. The first player is Colin White. Now, we looked at getting him in the last episode. Of course, he wasn't on the trade block then, so it was a little bit more difficult. Now he is on the trade block. However, things have changed. Since that episode, we have started the Ottawa Senators series, and for that reason, I don't think I'm going to go after Colin White, as I'm expecting him to be a pretty big part, or to play a pretty big part, of that Sens series, and I don't really want to feature someone on both series at the same time. So I am going to pass up on getting Colin White for now. The next player is another forward who, admittedly, is underrated, but that's why I wanted to bring him up. Miles Wood has had a pretty damn good season for the New Jersey Devils in real life. 77 overall, medium top 9 in this game right now. He's underrated. He could be better. His speed could certainly be better. Just the skating in general could be better. But that does bring me to the point of I didn't go through and edit the attributes of every single player. If, based on what I found in terms of where their overall should be, if that matched up with what EA already had them set to, I would typically not edit the attributes for that player just to save some time, and Miles Wood was one of those players. But like I said, he's had a pretty good season for the Devils. He could be improved upon, but for this series, I am going to avoid getting him. And even looking at that trade value, I feel like that's a smart move, unless we somehow have more value in a third-round pick than I'm expecting. But yeah, so you see next year's third-round pick. It's going to take that pick and more to get a medium top 9 overall player, just because they don't want to trade him. So that would be Weidman and a third for Miles Wood. Is that worth it? I'm going to say no. I am going to say no for now. I could be wrong on that. Let me know what you think. But for the moment, we're going to hold off on acquiring Miles Wood as well. The final forward is, of course, one of the very, one of the big names at the very top of the list who we did not acquire in the fantasy draft, that being Casey Middlestad, who's up to a 79 overall at 19 years old. And look, does it make sense to go out and acquire him? I mean, obviously he's a great player, but we're talking about giving up more than likely. I mean, you look at the value of our 12th overall pick. It would take, I can only assume, a Noah Hannafin. It would probably require Noah Hannafin and a second, if not the first, because they don't want to trade him. Maybe Ryan Donato and a first, but even then, I'm not entirely sure. That's a lot to give up. You talk about Ryan Donato, you look at, if we stay with this 12th overall selection, who we're looking at, it's nearly a guaranteed medium top 6 to medium top 4 defenseman. So two very solid players for Casey Middlestad, who is going to be an absolute game changer. Is that worth it right now? I just don't know. And to be honest, I think I'm going to go with my gut and avoid that situation just because it is such a high price. Which, I mean, you know what? Here, let's test run it, right? Let's test run this because, again, they don't want to trade him. So I will safety net this as much as I can just to not risk it. But, I mean, Donato in the second is not going through. And if we look at the first, even then I have my doubts, but let me just tack on the 3rd round pick here to safety net it a little bit. Yeah, so we're talking, if I go with the 4th even, just to risk this, yeah, we're talking about Donato, a 1st and more, which probably means Hanifin and a 1st. Maybe Hanifin and a 2nd for Mittelstadt. That's a really, really high price, and I think I'm going to avoid paying that. Speaking of Noah Hanifin, 2 players that we could compare him to, or at least one that we could compare him to, and then there's another defenseman that I want to talk about, and that's who we're going to talk about first. There is Brady Shea, who I am more than all right with acquiring. Of course, he has decent value, but in order to pull off that trade with them not wanting to get rid of him, we're talking about giving up Adam Fox and then potentially a Jack Glover, which I'm not against, but it might even be Fox, Glover, and a pick because they don't want to move him. Now, we could view Brady Shea as what we hope Adam Fox will be in the future. I guess the question is, will Adam Fox improve 11 overall points in the next 3 years to match what Brady Shea is right now? Or are we essentially just jumping forward in the stages of what type of defenseman we want, right? Are we just kind of moving someone out who will eventually be, we hope, the player that we're getting back? Just kind of skipping a few steps. Is Adam Fox, Glover, and a pick worth it? And I say Glover because at 22 years old, being a 71 overall, less likely of a chance that he's going to make the NHL as compared to Belpedio and Borgen. I would argue that's worth it in a way, but that also brings me to the other defenseman, which of course is Charlie McAvoy, who is an 87 overall at 20 years old. And again, as a Bruins fan, sure, it hurt to not take McAvoy. It hurts to not have him on this team right now. He's one hell of a player. But when you look at that trade value and you realize that they don't want to trade him, we're in the same situation as a Mittelstadt, where we're talking about moving Noah Hanifin, which, 21 years old, 85 overall, he's 1 year older and 2 overall points worse than McAvoy. However, is moving Hanifin and a pick. So basically, is it worth moving Hanifin and either a, more than likely, our 1st round pick, so a medium top 6 or another medium top 4 defenseman, is that worth the 2 overall point improvement right now? I'm going to say no. And I'm going to hope that Noah Hanifin isn't capping out at an 85 overall. He is 21 years old. He still has room to develop. I think right now, especially when you look defensively, that really needs to be where we look to improve. And by trading away another draft pick, which again, I'm looking at getting, say, a Quinn Hughes at this moment, unless I can possibly trade up for Brady Tkachuk, which is kind of hit or miss. I mean, right now, if I'm looking at getting a Quinn Hughes or a Bodie Wild, I got to go with the overall team depth as opposed to going for McAvoy. That said, is it worth trading Adam Fox and Glover for Brady Shea? A lot less expensive of a price. And you know what? I'm at least willing to explore this option. I want to see how close we can get to a done deal. Now, Shea does have a contract extension kicking in, so this should be a manageable deal, just as long as the price doesn't end up being too high. So let's go with Fox and Glover. Now, they don't want Glover. The values are about even, maybe slightly in their favor. That still won't go through. How high of a draft pick would it take to get this deal done? And also, one thing I noticed, Murphy's contract. Yikes. But thankfully, we're going to be in a spot where we're going to have a ton of salary cap available all the time. So it doesn't hurt us as much to have that contract. But let's say even Fox, Glover, and a 4th for Brady Shea. I'm cool with that. Will they be? No, they are not. I'm only willing to go for next year's 3rd. If this isn't enough, I don't know if I feel comfortable trading for Brady Shea right now, and that is not enough, and apparently it's not even close. So what else would we have to add to get this deal done? I mean, if we're looking at forwards, do I want to exactly give up a Novak in this deal? Not necessarily, because I'm thinking here to trade up and make sure that we get either Hughes or Novak, it's going to require, or to get Hughes or Bodie Wild, it's going to require moving Novak anyway. So I can't say right now that there's a price I'm willing to pay for any of those players listed. We can obviously revisit potentially acquiring those players in the future, but for right now I am going to hold off. But again, feel free to leave suggestions of players that we should look up that might be able to be acquired. Now, when it comes to the players that are available, again, Brady Tkachuk is the only medium elite of the group. There is Quinn Hughes. There's also Oliver Wahlstrom projected in the top 10. And then from there, it drops a little bit with Joel Farabee. And to be honest, Bodie Wild, I believe, is American. But does he play for the Canadian team? Let me take a look. Is Bodie Wild dual nationality? Aha, he is dual nationality. All right, let me take a look. So he is Canadian. He was born in Canada, but he plays, that's what I thought, he plays for the U.S. He was born in Montreal, but he plays for the U.S. national team, which makes him eligible. That's what I thought. So, and that's the thing, we might miss out on some players in the first 2 drafts or so if that happens, but I at least knew in the case of Bodie Wild that he was eligible. You did just get a look at the trade values of all of our players. It would probably be better to go after a Hughes or a Wild in this case. Yes, getting Brady Tkachuk would be nice. What is the price, though, to jump up to what I would hope would be the 4th pick? We might even have to jump up to the 3rd pick, which we cannot do because the Penguins don't want to move that pick. So that's really the question. Right now, we could find a way to move up to the 4th overall pick with the Calgary Flames. Like I said, I think using someone like a Thomas Novak would work out pretty well. My only concern is that I'd prefer to pick Quinn Hughes at 6th. He's a medium top 4, and again, I know the potentials here, and some people might argue he should be a medium elite. Again, I tried to keep it simple and only have the top 5 picks be elites. So Quinn Hughes is kind of the consensus 6th overall pick. My thought, though, is that Toronto, or whoever ends up with the 4th pick, might go off the board and slightly screw us over. So is that a chance that I am willing to take? And actually, let me see, do the Leafs want to trade this pick? They don't. So right now, it's looking like we trade up to Calgary and go off the board. Or we trade with Winnipeg and hopefully Hughes falls to 6th. So do we overspend to get the 4th pick from Calgary and take Hughes a little bit early to guarantee that we get him? Or do we give up a little bit less to make the deal with Winnipeg and potentially have Toronto screw us over if for whatever reason they prefer to take... I mean, here's the thing. I expect it to be Dahlin, Svechnikov, Zadina, Tkachuk, and Boqvist. That is the way it should work out. All it takes is one team screwing us over to, mess that up and take that away from us if we go with the 6th pick. As Dahlin goes number 1, as you would expect, he's off to the Florida Panthers. So, you know what? Let's see here. Number 2 pick is Svechnikov. The number 3 pick is Brady Tkachuk. And already, that order has been screwed up, which means Zadina's on the board here at 4. I'd like to think he's going to be the next pick. I'm going to sim this Calgary pick. Zadina goes. The question is who Toronto will take. Who will they select? Now, Brady Tkachuk, here's the thing. I'm kind of glad I didn't trade up to 4 and target Brady Tkachuk, right? Because we would have missed out. Tkachuk goes 3rd to Pittsburgh. They didn't want to move that pick. We were not going to be able to afford to get him. We might have been able to trade up for one of the top 2 picks, but there's no guarantees. Maybe I should have looked at that. So the medium elite in Tkachuk is off the board. The question is, do we leave this up to chance? Now, the Leafs, again, did they want to trade that pick? They didn't, right? We pretty much, we have to leave this up to chance. We have to. That was the choice, of course, is do we go with Calgary, do we trade up to get Hughes at 4, meaning Zadina or Boqvist fall to 5 and 6. And Toronto took Boqvist. All right, that works. Jesus, I was just about to say, like, okay, I think I'm going to sim this pick, and Toronto took him. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a deal done with Winnipeg here to move up and take Quinn Hughes. To be honest, I'm not really sure who we want to use here. We actually could use Glover. I was planning on trading him anyway. Or we have Novak. So Novak is a 71 at 21, and Glover is a 71 at 22. We'd also be getting his immediate replacement in the depth chart. To be honest, though, is that, you know what? Yeah, let's add on Glover here. I'm not sure how the value is looking right now. I'm going to safety net this with a low-end pick. Stephen talk a 4th round pick. What does Winnipeg think of that? They rejected it. Let's go with the 5th rounder. We might as well just, slowly but surely check out all of our options here. We have the 6th round pick, which, again, I'm not entirely sure how well these low-end picks are going to work out for us, but we'll see. Is the 7th round pick still not enough? Let's try that deal, and it won't go through. So it's a 1st Glover, and to be honest, it shouldn't take that much more. Who do we have here that we could throw in? Shane Prince. How did Shane Prince do for us this year? Because I don't know how much more he's going to progress. He only put up 22 points. He could be a solid 3rd-line option for us as a playmaker, but I'm not entirely sure, as Emmy just did the head wag. I'm not sure if that would have picked up on the mic. Like, he's not the most well-rounded player defensively. He's a bit weak. So in a 3rd-line role, it's not really what we're looking for. His shot isn't quite where we want it either. I'm going to add Shane Prince into this deal because I'm not sure how much better he's going to get. So we're looking at the 12th overall pick. I believe it's Jack Glover and Shane Prince for the 6th overall pick. So we're giving up Glover to move up 6 spots. Will it go through? I need to stop the glitch there from happening. Will it go through? No, it won't, but it's close. You know what? I think I'm going to go forward with this to get Quinn Hughes. Let's do it. 7th round pick this year, since we're already low on draft picks. Still no. Let's move that up to the 6th. So again, the 12th overall pick, a 6th rounder, Glover and Prince. Still no. Oh, do I go for the 5th rounder? I don't. Let's go a 6th and a 7th next year. Is that enough? No, it is not. Oh my God. Winnipeg's playing hardball. 5th rounder. Let's do it. Is that enough? No, it is not. Winnipeg, for the love of God, you said a 7th was close, so how is a 5th rounder not any closer? Come on, man. 5th and a 7th. I'm going to lose my shits. This is unreal. I hate when the game does this. It's like, oh yeah, 7th rounder, that's close. A 6th rounder, that's close. 5th rounder, oh, yeah, you're still close. It's like, well, what the fuck? Just, apparently I'm not that close. 4th round pick. I'm still cool with this. A 12th overall selection, a 4th round pick in Glover, along with Shane Prince, to move up 6 spots to draft Quinn Hughes. Thank you, Winnipeg. I hate your guts. But, at the very least, the job is done, and we get to take Quinn Hughes. Again, Bodie Wild was the backup plan, and if anything, I'm happy to end up with Hughes, even though the flag is glitched out. I'm happy to end up with Hughes, because then I won't have to explain the confusion of why Bodie Wild has the Canadian flag. If I want to go for a forward option, Oliver Wahlstrom's there. And look, I love Oliver Wahlstrom. He's from Yarmouth, Maine. I live in Maine. I've lived in Maine most of my life. I might as well be from Maine, even though I still have a ton of family in Massachusetts, and I was born in Massachusetts. I have to do what's right for this team. We need another strong defensive prospect, and Quinn Hughes is the guy. So let's take him with this pick. 70 overall to start, medium top 4 potential. And there is a very good chance I'm going to play him in the NHL year 1. There's a very good chance of that. Now here's the issue. We don't have that many draft picks in this draft. So let's just go ahead and sim to this next selection, 12th pick of the 2nd round. I'm going to scroll back through the draft so you can see how it's played out. You can see, obviously, the improvements to someone the improvements that I've made to someone like Barrett Hayton, of course. You can take a look at the potentials and the overalls I assigned to these guys, who your favorite team drafted, stuff like that, as the Bruins take Kevin Ball, 21st overall. Oh my God. I don't know if I agree with that decision. But there you go. That is the first round. Obviously, it's a good... I mean, it's the first-year drafts, but there are going to be more familiar names. And it's a good mix of players that we've either improved, players that we've added, like Vitaly Kravtsov. There's some names here. There are some names here. And that brings us to this pick. The question is, who is still on the board? This is where it gets scary. I knew we'd get someone good in the first round, but the second round is where it starts to get concerning, and it's very, very concerning. All right. Blade Jenkins of the Saginaw Spirit is the next American projected to be drafted. We also have Isaac Johnson, who I believe is computer-generated, available. This is what I was afraid of. And this is also why I was a little bit weary of giving up a tremendous amount of draft picks. But also why I'm not too concerned about missing draft picks at the same time. It's weird. Let's take a look at potential. Let's see here. As far as Americans go, is there a computer-generated steal? And it's not looking like it. Let me look at time scouted. That should give us the majority of Americans. I am going to have to call a timeout here, though. So let me do that. That high fringe goaltender projected to be undrafted could be decent. There's a very good chance I'm going to trade away the second pick here. And if I do, maybe that's the way we go out and get Brady Shea. If I give up the second round pick because there isn't anybody worth taking here. I mean, there's no point just being like, okay, we'll take the next American available. This isn't draft to glory. I have the ability to make these trades. So let's take a look here at Jared Nakis. Nakis? I'm going to go with Nakis. Nakis. He is an option. We have Buka Boom, who, I mean, unless he's tremendously better than what he's rated at, isn't really going to be worth it. We have Linson, the enforcer. Keith Linson, 6'7". Name him the Secretary of Defense. Who else do we have here? We have Marvin Morrow, solid name. We have Terry Sador. I was kind of hoping for some surprise stats. That's not looking too good. Also, what's not looking too good is the laptop I'm using to, of course, look up whether or not someone's actually eligible to be taken is restarting itself. So that's always nice when updates on your laptop just decide, hey, you know what, screw you, I'm doing this now. You didn't give me permission, but I'm doing this now. The good thing is I do remember that Brady Shea was on Florida. And unfortunately, none of these guys are looking like solid options here. So I'm going to trade down. I'll probably hold on to a 6th or 7th round pick to take that goaltender. That was at the top of the board here, but aside from that, there are no steals. From what I can tell, I don't think I've missed anybody. There are no steals. So we are pretty damn well boned. So let's go ahead and talk to the Florida Panthers about potentially acquiring Brady Shea. And of course, it's working on updates too, so I'm not going to be able to use this laptop. That is tremendous. Tremendous. So Brady Shea. How much value does the second round pick have? Hopefully a lot. Yikes. Alright, so let's go 2nd, 5th, and 7th. I'll give up all my remaining picks in this draft because we know that there's not really anybody available that I want aside from that goaltender. And I already used the other defenseman there. So what about Novak? He's pretty much my best bet to pull this off, and they might not even re-sign him. We might be able to get him back in free agency. So we have Novak, a 2nd, 5th, and 7th. What can I possibly do to safety net this? Let's go with a 6th round pick next year. What's their reaction to this trade? Not close. What if I take off the 6th? Still not close. It's because they don't want the draft picks, but what else is a guy to do, really? So let's take a look here. Is there anything else? Not that I want to give up Murphy, but I mean, if they want him, and if they want to take that cap hit, by all means. No, still not close. See, this is what I was afraid of in terms of trying to track down a player. And to be honest, I might just have to look through the list. I'm cool with getting an extra defenseman here, but there's really no one else I can add into this to make it worth it. Of course, we still need help at forward. That's obvious, although a lot of our guys that were in the AHL last year are going to be graduating up. Defensively, a lot of this depends on player progression. We just need whatever player we can really get. So if I can't get this deal done here with Brady Shea, I'm going to be looking through the trade blocks of certain teams. What about another 5th round pick next year? There's no way that won't be enough. Let's go with the 3rd round pick next year. So a 2nd round pick this year, 43rd overall, a 3rd, 5th, and 7th, and Novak. I think it's Thomas Novak for Brady Shea. No, I don't see it happening. And do I want to give up 2 second-round picks to pull this off? Not really, because we don't know who's available down the road. So while I mentioned that I don't exactly want to get Colin White, knowing that Colin White is available right now is potentially huge for us, because he could be the one guy that it makes sense to go out and get. You do have someone like JT Compher, who is a cheap addition. I wish there was someone else there on Nashville with him. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Sonny Milano. Sonny Milano is a pretty strong option rather than White. So Nashville and New Jersey, and we could also get Nolan Stevens in that deal, potentially. The value might be too high. So I like Compher, but right now New Jersey's probably the favorite, and I know, again, the clock's running, but I have another timeout to use. We have Tony DeAngelo there. Nick Suzuki is Canadian. I'm going to be looking for medium potentials here right now. Trent Frederick is an option. Is there anybody else to add on to that? Jason Robertson. All right, so New Jersey and Philly are looking like trade partners here, potential trade partners. We'll keep that in mind, as we don't have anybody else there. Zboril, not available, obviously. Who else? New Jersey and Nashville are the 2 favorites. Do we have anybody else to add to that potential list, or are we going to be working out a deal with one of those 2 teams? Barrett Hayton was drafted and immediately put on the trade block. Sanheim's Canadian. Just double checking, even though I know the vast majority of these players, of course, aren't American, but it's worth to double check. So we know we have Colin White there, but I mean, unless I wanted to go with Pionk as an option, but I think I'm going to avoid Colin White because of the Sens series. Radish and Carlson. Cal Foote is technically American. Christian Dvorak's not exactly as good of a follow-up option. Actually, he might be. 78 at 22. Let me check New Jersey. You know what? Dallas isn't too bad if we wanted to go after Cal Foote. Let me go call that timeout. So Dallas, Nashville, and New Jersey are the favorites right now. So we'll take a look at not this menu. Boy, hitting the wrong button. I've been thrown through a loop with this laptop resetting itself. It's kind of thrown me off my game here and distracted me, but let me focus back in so I don't make a dumb mistake. See, nobody there. Mete and Dahlin, of course, nobody there. I wish. And that's that. All right, so for Dallas, we'd be looking at Cal Foote and Christian Dvorak. So a 70 overall at 19. I'm going to take Compher out of the running because we have better options. We'd have Sonny Milano, who's a 77 at 22, and Nolan Stevens. And Philly, was it Philly? Had Trent Frederick and Robertson. So Frederick is a 70 at 20 years old. Robertson's a 68 at 19, or at 18. So a 70 and a 64. We have a 77 and a 75. Or we have a 70 at 18, or a 70 at 19. Boy, I cannot focus. I'm the worst. So we either go Cal Foote and Christian Dvorak. We go with We go with Milano and Stevens, or we go with Frederick and Robertson. Now, the one thing I'm thinking of course, is that we're an Eastern Conference team. It might be worth making the deal with Dallas, just in case the draft pick ends up being half decent. We're not going to have to deal with the aftermath for a while. I don't really recall using Cal Foote in too many series. It's 70 overall at 19. Christian Dvorak is a 78. Did he play in the NHL last year? He did. He had 33 points in 78 games. Pretty well-rounded player, too. So, do I trust Dvorak's development over... I mean, again, Sonny Milano's a 77 at 22. How did he do last season? 18 points. I mean, Dvorak, offensively, I mean, Milano has the better shot, but Dvorak's not that far behind. I mean, offensive awareness, I think Dvorak's is 1 point higher. Milano has a good shot, though, and an amazing flow. And Nolan Stevens is a 75 at 21. So, basically, do I expect Robertson to be able to improve to Stevens' level within 3 years? I'm going to say that's a giant question mark. So it comes down to who do I want, Milano or Foote. And again, we kind of need defensive depth. So I'm going to try to get Cal Foote and Dvorak. Just because, again, we need that defensive depth. So let's see if I can pull this off. We have the 2nd, a 5th, and a 7th. Just see how close that is. You can actually tell in the value bar. Not close at all. I might not be able to get Dvorak, but at the end of the day, Foote is the main target. And I am willing to give up Novak to make this happen. Again, Novak is a year younger and 7 overall points worse. So it's not a bad trade-off. So basically it's a 2nd for Foote. Novak, yeah, okay, this could work out. This could work out. And then let's see, just a safety net in case the value is too far in their favor. It's not the case. That's not particularly close either. But still, I'm feeling all right about this. What about the 5th round pick next year? Still not enough. I will gladly take Dvorak out of this deal if I have to. Let's go 4th round pick down the road. Yeah, I'll take Dvorak out of the deal, and we'll just focus on Foote. So the 2nd, 2 5ths, and a 7th for Cal Foote won't go through. I hopefully won't have to add Novak back into this. Let's go with a 5th round pick next year. Still not close. I am going to have to add Novak back into this. But considering that 2nd round pick is basically worthless to me, it's okay. And also it helps that, again, this would be even more expensive if Foote wasn't on the trade block. So what do they say to this? Still no. Let's still try to get picks next year. Let's look at the 4th and not the 5th. I didn't want to do that. Dude, the menu lag. I hate that. If you play franchise, you know how the damn thing freezes up and you have to hit left and right out of nowhere just to unfreeze it. It's annoying. Is the 4th rounder enough? Close to fair value. You know what? I mean, I've had my rants and raves about how close is fair value, but what if I switch the 6th and the 7th? What do you say to that then? Still no. I'll offer them my 7th round pick next year. And we'll see what they say to that. Not my 1st. Thank you. How close are we now? We're close to the point that we're done. Welcome, Cal Foote, to Team America, for lack of a better term. So we have added Quentin Hughes and Cal Foote to this defense, which is now looking relatively better, I would say. So we give up a bunch of useless picks. We will sim... here, let's sim the next round. I'll scroll through the 2nd round so you guys can see the rest of the names. But of course, after the 2nd round, it really drops off. Even with the improved names, even if it is somebody that's up to a medium 7th or a medium bottom 6, a lot of these guys are players you wouldn't have seen otherwise. Does it make a major difference? To me, yes. As opposed to it just being AHL potential, AHL potential, AHL potential. Some of these guys might, at the very least, be able to carve out a 4th line spot or perhaps even better at a certain time. And of course, it also leads to there being some steals at the beginning of the second and third round, just because of the way this pans out. And Blade Jenkins, I think we made the better option, the better choice. We went with the better option, passing on Blade Jenkins and going with the trade route. So you can see, had we gone with the full Nations United mode, we wouldn't have ended up with a tremendous amount of talent outside of that first round selection. Which is why I, posed that question as to whether or not we should go Nation United with the full deal. The question is, and he should still be available, is that goaltender there? Which again, I'm kind of banking on it at this point. He was projected to be undrafted, so I feel like it's a pretty safe bet. Shout out to Shaw Boomhauer, who's there. It wasn't Solnishkin. It was... No one listed there either. I gotta go to Time Scouted. Where's my goalie? Where is he? There he is. Nakis. Jared Nakis, the 6'2", 205-pound, 18-year-old goaltender, simply from America, and that is where he shall remain. Nakis is the pick, and he's medium fringe at a 55, so not a steal for a 7th-round pick. It's not too bad, but overall, not a game-changing defenseman. We walk away with only 2 players selected, one 6th overall, the other 198th, but for the most part, I have no complaints about the draft and how that just went. I feel like it went quite well, and that leads us to the re-sign phase, although I have to admit, this laptop apparently still working on updates, so I might actually have to cut this episode short without going into free agency, just because I want to make sure that I'm good to go. I could sit there and get my phone, but it runs significantly slower than this laptop. It's a pain. It's a pain in the ass. And not to mention the draft took a little bit longer than I had planned because of the trades that we had to make. So, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll get to the end of this. We'll be good to go. Maybe we'll just leave it there at the draft. In terms of goaltending, we're good to go. In terms of defense, Chris Weidman is looking for a new deal. Oh, boy, and he wants to get paid, and I'm not too happy about that. $3 million for a third-pairing defenseman. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to let him walk away to free agency just to start. Same thing with Nate Ginnon. We'll let him walk away. There's a chance I'll bring back Weidman. And Cal Foote needs an entry-level deal. He was only looking for 1 year, which is surprising. But, yeah, we'll try to go 3 years at $925, and hopefully he's willing to accept that. Quinn Hughes, you know what? We're just going to sign him outright. We're just going to sign him outright, and like I said, I might give him a chance at the NHL level. Brian Gianna, Tommy Wingles, and Eric Condra are on their way out for now. They might be brought back. Left wings are good. And then centers, same thing. Cullen, Ryan, Boyle, and Wagner, along with Brian Gibbons. And Luke Glendening are also on their way out. A lot of our success heading in the next season depends on the progress of these players. But if we can get Quinn Hughes signed, if we can get Cal Foote signed, we're pretty much good to go. And we'll take a look at said free agent list. So let's advance day here. Cal Foote has accepted that 3-year deal. Now again, I'm always a little bit concerned when offering somebody more years than what they're looking for. I feel like sometimes, at least in previous NHLs, that could stunt their development. I'm hoping that's not the same here, especially since it's an entry-level deal. And Quinn Hughes has also accepted. So welcome the 2 newest members of the Columbus Blue Jackets as that ends the re-sign phase in very, very quick fashion. And that brings us to the free agent signing period, although I do want to clear out the trade block just so that we don't get any kind of spam offers. Not really interested in that. And let's see here. Well, let's take a look. We know Ilya Kovalchuk is going to be available. If you want to know how I set it up to get Ilya Kovalchuk there, of course, watch for the roster editing, or just watch the roster editing extravaganza. It's already there. It's already out there and ready for you to enjoy. But in terms of any big fish, I mean, James Neal, Evander Kane, those are the 2 biggest names. Nemestikov is an RFA. But for the most part, no major help there. You also have Hadobin, Grubauer, Shestyorkin, and Samsonov both hit the free agent market, which means the Islanders, in terms of teams with one of the big three Russian goaltenders, the Rangers weren't able to get a deal done, the Caps weren't able to get a deal done, but the Islanders were able to get a deal done for, or whoever the hell signed them, I should say. Of course, I keep forgetting this is the fantasy draft series. So, bottom line is, a couple teams screwed up. Ilya Sorokin did sign with his team, which, admittedly, I'm not surprised by. Although, who's to say? Maybe I was right. Maybe those teams, or maybe those, maybe those teams did actually bring those players back. So the question is, and again, wouldn't it be nice if you could just look at the nationality from here? It would be nice, quick, simple, wouldn't be a problem. But is that a thing? Absolutely not. So let's go ahead and double check one thing here. To be honest, this laptop is it's rebooting, so I'm just trying to buy time. Could I make a jump cut? Sure, but I don't like jump cuts. I'd rather sit here and talk, because that's what I do. But anyway, as you get a look there, we're looking all right. We're looking all right for a fantasy draft. That's not a bad. It's not a bad look to have this early on. But of course, in terms of high-end talent, well, it's not looking too great, especially for forwards at all. Of course, we're stuck with Pitlick, Corrali, and Achari for the next 2 years unless we trade them. But that's not the end of the world. So for goaltending, again, we're still good unless we want to try and bring in a prospect, one of the medium fringe guys off the free agent list. And depending on John Gillies' development, Keith Kincaid might become expendable. So we'll keep that in mind. And then when it comes to the defense, I mean, we're looking for Belpedio to step up. If he doesn't, I very well may give Quinn Hughes the chance. And if he is not available to assign to the not to the free agent list, to the AHL. Speaking of the free agent list, though, screw it. Let's go. Let's take a look at who is available here. We're not going to end this episode now. We are, again, going to go forward and try to get this team set up for Season 2. So, again, starting with the goaltenders, we don't need a high overall goaltender. It's more being worried about the signing options, which, if you look at the medium fringes, Hayden Hockey's not a bad option. You also have Hogberg, Vanasek, who are not available to us. Again, if we're looking at a 23-year-old goaltender, Hayden Hockey is the way to go. He is American, of course. You also have Johansson, Halverson, the 19-year-old Niilo Halonen. So in terms of signing a goaltender, Hayden Hockey is the guy. So we are going to look to sign him up. Again, if John Gillies jumps to a backup role, Hayden Hockey's going to be the guy in the AHL with Jake Ottinger. So Hayden Hockey will be the one goaltender that we target. In terms of defense, I mean, you know, we didn't really get lucky with John Carlson hitting the free agent market. I mean, you have some familiar names here. Unfortunately, is Nick Holden American? Nick Holden is not American. You have Johnny Oduya. I mean, yeah, there's really nobody there that I'm interested in signing. We could look to bring back Weidman, but again, he's still looking for $3 million. I'm all right with going younger on defense for this next season. Of course, we couldn't really do that last year because of all of the players that we had signed that were on entry-level deals. David Ferentz is one of the guys that we can look to target here, though. So I'm going to look to offer him the max deal. Unfortunately, everybody else is in on him right now, too. So we'll see what happens there. Stetcher is Canadian. Rykov's not available, of course. And then let's see, medium top six. Do we have younger players who still have a chance of developing is my question. I'm looking for like 23 years old at most, and indeed, there is nobody. So for defense, again, the one guy is going to be Ferentz, and we'll see if that works out. Right wings, anybody here at all is my question. James Neal, of course, is not. Stafford is available. Could be a decent enough third line guy for us. Another team is interested. We only have $9 million to spend, by the way, which is pretty surprising. To be honest, where's most of that money being taken up? I mean, Jack Eichel's new contract kicks in, so that's kind of rough. But obviously, he was our #1 pick. We have to hope that he develops. That was the risk, of course, right? Is taking Jack Eichel, knowing that contract was going to kick in. That was the risk. Hanifin's contract also kicked up too. Galchenyuk's contract, Palmieri. I feel like there was a little bit of, and I might be wrong here, but judging by these contract numbers, I can only assume that this game did what it typically does in terms of kind of resetting some of the salary numbers when you do a fantasy draft, just so that teams aren't horrifically below the cap floor, because oftentimes they don't sign players for whatever reason. So that would explain where a whole lot of the money came from. So let me just double check that, though, because the main person I'm intrigued by right now is Kyle Palmieri. The fact that he is making that much. And I'm like, wait a minute. If they actually gave him that much money, that would be insane, which they didn't. He's actually at 4.65. So, yeah, case in point, that is a thing. So that explains why the money right now is as low as it is, which might lead to us having to trade away those players in the somewhat near future. So I'm going to focus on signing prospects, I think, for the moment here. I mean, again, someone like Brian Rust, he's an RFA, though I'd like to avoid signing him. We could bring in someone like Stafford and someone like Weidman, but I think that could cost us, especially when these younger guys who actually do develop are going to be looking for decent contracts. So we are going to avoid a lot of the relatively big cap hits, and we're just going to focus on signing younger players. And we'll bring in help later on. Sonny Milano has hit the free agent market as an RFA. Also, Cam Morrison is Canadian. That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. What about medium top nines here who might develop? Taylor Lear, I'm pretty sure, is Canadian. Yes, indeed he is. Who else do we have? Miles Wood. He's an RFA. But Miles Wood is also available. All right, well, what's the going rate on Miles Wood? 1, 2. Also, the going rate on Miles Wood. That's just to get your mind out of the gutter. Anyway, so Sonny Milano would not require much. See, if I change that to a one-way, can I avoid having to give up a third-round pick? Basically, what's the money amount I can offer him to avoid giving up a third-round pick so that I can also send an offer to Miles? Would it be 1.2? It's 1.2. So we'll offer this deal to Sonny. If I offer him a two-way deal, he won't. I mean, he'll stay. He'll stay where he is. So we'll offer that deal for Sonny Milano, and then we'll go back to Miles Wood. And you know what? I'm willing to give up a third-round pick. Again, when I thought it was going to be more than a third-round pick is when I was concerned. We'll offer him, let's go up to 1.5, and I'm willing to give up the third-round pick to do that. So that worked out pretty well. And then for centers, I mean, if we wanted to bring in someone half-decent, Kevin Hayes is there. However, in terms of however, he's an RFA. So, yeah. Second-round pick for Kevin Hayes. I don't know what team he's on right now, though. And it's not telling me. What if I hit view profile? He's on Edmonton. Let me go see if that's a steal. Let me go see if he's more valuable than a second-round pick. Like I said, Miles Wood, we kind of knew what he was worth. He might have been worth less now, technically, because he's an RFA, but still, it's a third-round pick. I'm not all that concerned. I imagine most drafts will go the way that this past one just did. Kevin Hayes is not worth the second-round pick. There's no way. Let me take a look at the value of our second-round pick. No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, which I'm surprised that his value is that low. I'm honestly not sure why his value is that low, but again, the way trade values work in this game, it's not exactly ideal in most respects. However, this is a player that I know a lot of people are going to want me to sign. he should be American, correct? No, that's right. That's right. He is Canadian. There is an American Jake Evans, but unfortunately still in high school. This Jake Evans, born in 1996 at the University of Notre Dame, is from Toronto, Montreal draft pick. So, no Jake Evans for us. Kokochev, obviously not. Nick Shore, I am 99% sure, I was going to say Canadian. I was wrong. Do I want to sign him for that much, though, as a fourth-line guy? Not really. Which is why I'm going to look at Chris Tierney, who I know is Canadian. And indeed he is. You have Blake Coleman, Freddie Gauthier, Kyle Rao, Fogarty, Dove McFalls, who has to be Canadian. You also have Morrison, and then it drops down from there. So the offers we have sent out: Ference, Milano, Wood, and Hayden Hockey. So not a tremendous amount of offers. Again, I'm probably going to have to fill up this roster at the start of the preseason with some veterans. But depending on who signs here, we could be in good shape. And Ference accepted our offer. We maxed out the offer, and we just outdueled quite a few other players. So picking up Ference, the low elite player who we passed up on, if not missed out on in the fantasy draft, helps out quite a bit. Sonny Milano's accepted. We just have to wait to hear back. Miles Wood is also accepted, and Hayden Hockey is here too. So far, we're 2 for 2. And we have signed Miles Wood. So we give up a third-round pick to bring in Miles Wood as an RFA. And for Sonny Milano, it's been matched at 1.2. So Sonny Milano would have chosen not... Oh, wait, never mind. I'm wrong. Your offer sheet has been resolved. The Devils have not chosen to match it. I saw the whole not obligatory or obligated. Yeah, shit. We got Sonny Milano. That's my point. I was wrong. I'm man enough to admit it. I read it wrong. I skipped over it, and I'm like, shit, we missed out on him. We didn't. We went 4 for 4. We signed everybody we wanted. Whether or not I should have given up a third-round pick for Miles Wood, but he was on that list of players that people wanted me to, or he was on the list of players that were mentioned that people wanted me to check out and potentially acquire, and indeed, we did. So like I said, I'm still expecting to have to sign a couple of people, but depending on the progression of these players, we could be in very good shape. So let's see what happens here as we prepare for Season 2. I cannot wait to see what this team looks like. I'm excited for the progression. I'm ready to be disappointed slightly because I'm having my hopes and dreams. I'm used to them being dashed by this game, but like I said, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens here. So, for roster moves, let's take a look at the progression. We'll start off with goaltending, where John Gillies is backup level. Jake Ottinger's up to a 71. So Kincaid, who struggled last year, why is it saying I can't have 3 goaltenders? That's weird. Keith Kincaid will be traded away. So we'll take a look at his trade value to see whether or not we can actually get somebody or if he'll just be traded for a pick. So we're going to go with Hellebuck and Gillies as our 1-2 punch with Hockey and Ottinger in the AHL. Trouba's an 89, Hannafin's an 85. Connor Murphy, yes, thank you, Connor Murphy, for taking that jump to an 82. Johns is still a 79. We have Schmaltz and Belpedio. Let's take a look here. I think Quentin Hughes is AHL eligible, which would be gigantic for us. But there we go. That's not looking too bad, especially knowing, too, that we saved some money by not offering... Oh, what's his face? I completely forgot his name. I forgot. Who did we just have that we didn't bring back? I completely forget. We didn't bring him back, though, and clearly he wasn't that important. Forward-wise, what are we looking at here? Gaudette's a 76. I'm going to send down Achari and Corrali. Paling's a 76. Max Jones is a 76. All right, so we have a decision to make. Alex Tuck's up to an 83. We have Milano, Wood, Kyler, Gaudette. So we can't do that. Let's see here, though. So I'd like Jones to at least be at the NHL level. simply because he is listed as a fourth-line guy. So who can be sent down here? The depth options are Yamamoto and Gaudette. I'm going to send down Gaudette for the moment. Let me see what this team looks like. Gaudette could lead the way for Cleveland. So let's take a look here. I didn't even notice that Tyler Pitlick was right there. Let me send down Tyler Pitlick and call up Gaudette. No questions asked. No question about it. So forward-wise, I don't care about Tyler Pitlick. And we'll call up Gaudette. I know Paling is there as well, but Paling is just as a depth guy too. And it's the same thing with Paling and Gaudette. However, Paling does have the better potential, so for that reason, Gaudette is going to get sent back down. But I got what I wanted, and we have had quite a bit of progression. Let me go best lines in the AHL. We'll revisit that. Let me go best lines at the NHL level. So, in terms of physical play, it's got to be Jones with probably... Can Tufte play center? No. Can Wood play center? No. Brown's got to be the fourth line center. I'm going to give Riley Tufte the chance on a higher line, so we're going to go with Jones, Brown, and Wood on the third line. Does Sonny Milano deserve the chance on the second line above all else? We could go Milano, Paling, and Tufte. I'll put Tufte on the right. Paling has an 85 for faceoff. Second line, you know what? I want Palmieri and Tuck to each be on a line. So what if we go Donato, Eichel? So goal scorer, playmaker, defensive / physical presence. Playmaker, Galchenyuk could be the goal scorer. He has the ability. Donato has a better shot, though. Donato also has 82 for faceoffs. We could go playmaker, goal scorer. I know he's a playmaker, actually, but I'm just saying in terms of his shooting ability. Ideally, the playmaker of the line, the goal scorer of the line, the two-way physical presence of the line who can also chip in. Playmaker, goal scorer, physical presence, and Alex Tuck. Third line, Milano, Paling, and Tufte. Then we have Jones, Brown, and Wood on the fourth line. It's looking pretty good. And if Kyler struggles there, we can always drop him easily enough down to the third line, call up Sonny Milano, and go with this as the third line. So we have options within this lineup itself. And then on defense, it's still Hanifin, Trouba. We have Johns and Murphy, Schmaltz, and Belpedio. Which, to be honest, I think I'll start with Schmaltz being on the higher line just because he's younger and we need that development out of him. So we could go with Belpedio. I'll go with Connor Murphy on the right as well. So defensively, it's still looking a bit weak, but again, we have that progression option or that development chance out of Schmaltz and Louis Belpedio. Of course, the goaltenders are set. And then down in the AHL, let's see what we're looking like here. Although I can guarantee we are going to have to sign players to make this team better. Again, Keith Kincaid is on his way out. It's going to be Hockey and Ottinger. The defense is Chris, Borgen, which, you know, if Steven Johns isn't improving, I could easily see me signing or calling up Chris and Borgen. Unfortunately, Quinn is not quite there. Quinn is not quite there. I mean, I could give him a chance at the NHL level. He'd probably take Steven John's spot, who is at least a third-pairing defensive defenseman. Physical player, good defensively, average skater. So in terms of my questions to you guys, again, we'll touch back up on Keith Kincaid in a moment. Defensively, do I keep Steven Johns, or do I start Quinn Hughes at the NHL level and trade Johns? If I keep Johns, if he struggles, again, I can either call up Hughes or call up Chris and Borgen, although them having some top-line time at the AHL level is going to be pretty nice. Although, Adam Fox is going to take that main spot from Borgen. And let's see here. I need to sign one defenseman. So I do need to sign one defenseman. I gotta admit, I want to get Quinn Hughes into the lineup ASAP. It might not be the smartest move to do so. Of course, we have signed him, and he is currently in junior, but might not be the smartest move. Defensively, we need to sign basically anybody for one season. Not really sure who that's going to be. I think Casey Nelson's American, isn't he? Of course, of the Buffalo Sabres in real life. He is American. Cool. It's really my only response. Just, cool. I like Casey Nelson, though. I'm hoping he turns into a good player for the Sabres. And, I mean, you know, good workout. Good flow as well. So let's see if we can go with Casey Nelson. Something like Paul Ledoux. You know what? Screw it. Let's just go for Casey Nelson. It literally doesn't matter who. Never mind. It would have to be a 3-year deal. I need someone who only wants a 1-year deal, just so that I don't have to trade them away, right? I'd rather just keep it simple and not get somebody that I'm going to have to trade away anyway after this season. So, which again, I could, but, you know, it just turns into picking up another draft pick that I'm probably going to have to trade later on anyway because people are not good. Don't have much value. Is Steven Kampfer American? He is. And there we go. We'll pick up the veteran Steven Kampfer for this season. He'll occupy that final spot on the AHL lineup. Unless, of course, we decide to trade... Unless we decide to trade Kincaid for a defensive prospect that can play in the AHL, and then he'll just be scratched or traded. That being Steven Kampfer. And then forward-wise, we know we're going to have to sign some players. So let's take a look at this. So, yeah, we need 4 guys here. We need 4 players to replace the majority of which I think they're all Finnish. I believe they are. So we need 4 guys here, and we can sign the 4 best players. Of course, Gaudette is still going to be down here. We have Kiefer Bellows, Jeremy Bracco, Josh Norris, and Grant Mishmash. Josh Norris is apparently his name. Josh Norris. There we go. Yeah, I tried to read too quickly, and I'm like Norris and Mishmash, Norris. Anyway, we're fine. I mean, mentally, I might not be fine, but you get the point. We're doing all right. So the forwards. Who are we going to sign? Someone who's... I mean, granted, they're looking for NHL time. It doesn't really matter. But I don't want to worry about it too much. So I'm just going to focus on signing someone who's looking for AHL play. I don't care. I just want to keep it simple like that and not have to worry about it. So there we go. Minor league checking. Who can we get here? Brooks Lake, I'm pretty sure, is Canadian. Ryan Carpenter. If anything, right now, I'm more looking for names that I like. Right? It's pretty much what it is. Jordan Tutu is Canadian, is he not? He is. I'm more looking for names of players that I like. Kind of like why I signed Sean Corrali in the first place. But this is what I'm trying to avoid, of course, by signing people that I just like that only want the 1 year. Is that we don't have to worry about them hanging around for more than the 1 year. Steven Gianna. I will gladly sign Brian Gianna's brother. I hate, Steven, you must hate that that's what you're known for, but I mean, come on, that's, what do people look at? Former Devil, former Islander, Steven Gianna's brother. That's what it is. It's what it is. Jerome McGinley's still there. Gabriel Dumont. Canadian. Who else do we have? Thorburns looking for a 4th line spot. Martinson, Brian Flynn, Cracknell. Oh, am I being more tedious about this than I have to be? Yes, I am. But at least I can admit it. Tanner Glass is Canadian. Unfortunately. He would have been the perfect signing. Rutu Bernier, Nathan Gerby is American. Former Portland Pirate great Nathan Gerby. We need 2 more players here. Corey Conacher is, of course, Canadian, unfortunately. Again, he would have been perfect for the role. Kempe Paul Thompson is American. do I like you that much? Or do I just want to skip past you for absolutely no reason? RJ Umberger. The Umbergers. We have to sign RJ Umberger. We do. American hero. RJ Umberger. And the last one, we do have Landon Ferraro, who is Canadian. Let's see. Tanner Fritz. Anybody else? Michael Latta. Lundstrom. Wade Megan. Okay, I'm looking for the 1 years here. Bracken Kearns. Darren Archibald. Corey Tropp could sign Gerby's old Portland Pirate teammate, Corey Tropp. And Phil Varone, another former Portland Pirate. Sure, Dick Axelson if he wasn't Swedish. It's a damn shame. Can Dick Axelson be an honorary American? I think he is. Or we can sign member of the Olympic team, Bobby Butler. You know, the Olympic team that did so well. Oh, boy. I am still a little bit disappointed, I'll admit, by the U.S. Men's Olympic team's performance. A little bit disappointed. But there we go. We have everybody signed that we were looking to sign. Let's get these lines sorted out. And then again, I'll show you Keith Kincaid's trade value. And we'll kind of take a look as to whether or not it's worth even attempting to trade him. So let's just go best lines here. We'll take out Thorell, who I think is the only player I have to get rid of. We do have Josh Norris. Is he the only one? He is. All right, beautiful. So we'll bring in Josh Norris. And then any, like, quote-unquote actual player will immediately be dropped. We are going to have one player up there, and I'm going to go with my favoritism and make that be Nathan Gerby. So the more physical players will be on the fourth line. Oh, let's see. We're going to go with Umberger. So it'll be... Let's see, how do we want to do this? Actually, that works out. And we'll have Pitlick, or Gianna, Pitlick, and Butler. And from here, let's see, medium. The exception of Gaudette, who's low 6, but to be honest, I'm going to give Gaudette that top line ice time. I think I'm going to go Gerby, Gaudette, Baracco, Bellows, Norris, and Mishmash. That works out pretty well. Norris is the better center. So there you go. I mean, the AHL squad, it's highlighted by the 5 forwards, Gaudette, Baracco, Bellows, Norris, and Mishmash. On defense, though, it's looking pretty solid. Oh, except for the addition of Steven Kampfer. Not like he's bad, but still, you know, you get the point. We're actually going to go with Kampfer and... I guess Borgen. He's a minor league top 2 defenseman, though. He's a depth defenseman. You know what? No, I guess I'm going to play Borgen there. I want to play him within his role. So hopefully he continues to develop. And then I'm going to give... I'm tempted to give Ferentz the second line time over Foot, but I'm hoping Ferentz will still develop relatively well playing on a line with Kampfer. So Chris Borgen, Foot, Fox, Ferentz, and Kampfer. Of course, the goaltending. Again, we'll swap that out. It'll be Ottinger and Hayden Hockey. So I'm really liking the look of both squads right now. The younger players are starting to get into the lineup. We're getting better very quickly. You know, someone like Stephen Johns isn't going to be around for that much longer. You do have somebody... like Kincaid, again, who is going to be moved. That's the last thing we have to do here before we call it an episode, is take a look at his value, which is decent. That's 3rd to 2nd round pick territory. So if we pair Kincaid with somebody on the trade block, for example, I'm not sure who I'm looking to find here. I'm going to go to Carolina, for example. And he's not there anymore, but had someone like Colin White been there, it might have worked out, and probably would work out in a pretty straightforward manner. Even someone like Ian Mitchell, who we can't use. I'm trying to think of examples. Actually, you know what? Here, let's scroll through and see if we can find an example of someone that we might be able to acquire. I'm looking for the... Well, even that, like the medium top 4 range, if they're on the block, I'm not going to trade for Morin. But case in point... with Kincaid, I mean, that's close. It might be Kincaid in the draft pick for a medium top 4 or medium top 6 defenseman or forward. And if we don't want to give up that extra draft pick, we are at just flat out like low top 4 kind of level. We might even be able to trade him for a draft pick. So what do you guys think I should do with Keith Kincaid? Should we aim to get a draft pick in return, or just set our sights on just getting the best player that we possibly can to add to what we already have? And of course, taking a look here, we are going to scout out the U.S. I should have done that from the start. I need to get back in the habit of working on scouting myself, which is something I haven't done for a while. In terms of projections, well, it's not looking that good, is it? Which could mean potentially going after some of those players that we mentioned earlier, or whatever players you guys mentioned in the comment section this time out, for players that we should look to target, especially if we have a rough season and our draft pick ends up being higher than, I mean, honestly, than we might hope. I don't know. It depends. But again, there is a very good chance that we will be wheeling and dealing these draft picks for the majority of the series, at least until we get heavy into AI-generated players territory. Although a certain brother of Quinn Hughes will be coming up in the draft fairly quickly. So that is another thing to think about as we move forward. But guys, that will do it for this one as I look to name a captain. Let's give Adam Gaudette the captaincy. I think he's wearing 88. Although I'm not allowed to change the number yet until I assign the other numbers. Although I got to be honest, it's very tough for me to not name Nathan Gerbe captain. We'll give Chris a letter. Actually, you know what? No, we won't. Sorry, Chris. I'm going to give the letters to Steven Kampfer and Nathan Gerbe because I can. And because it matters all that much. Guys, you know the deal. You know the outro at this point. Let me know what you think as far as everything we have talked about thus far. Suggestions, feedback, all the same stuff. You know what to do. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Let me know what you're thinking of the series. Give me your suggestions on what we should do with Keith Kincaid. Give me your thoughts on what players we should look to get. All of that fun stuff. I thank you for checking out this series. I thank you for checking out this episode. We have a 90 rated offense, 92 rated defense, and 94 rated goaltending. Have a good one. Take it easy. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch. I love you all. Have a tremendous day. Jamie Benn looks hideous in an Islanders uniform.